Hey nerds, Farmer Jesse here. Welcome to Growers Daily, your daily dose of ecological farming insight. It is Thursday, January 15th, 2026, and today we have a load of topics to cover for reasons that will make sense presently. We are talking about alfalfa pellets, plastic mulch inside of your sod, stink bug infestations, sanitizer and wash water, should I swap my tractor for a walk behind, and a small fruit conundrum. So many topics. Love it. So let's do it. All right, well, happy Thursday, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation that we had yesterday with Jamie Swafford of Old North Farms. That was super fun. Check that out if you missed it. It is way back to cold here again. Not a surprise in January, but I was kind of getting used to the mild winter there for a minute. And the kids are out of school for the slight amount of snow, but I think also the cold. And anyway, I didn't get a whole lot done yesterday, except finished out some planting of lettuce in the tunnel and got it prepped to survive this cold weather. We're going to hit single digits again for a couple nights here coming up. So that's like basically negative 12 to 14 degrees Celsius. And that will take a little extra covering, but we're inching closer to that goal of lo-fi March lettuce. Should be tasty. I'm looking forward to it. I could use a good March salad. Anyway, today we are going to try something a little bit different. I definitely need to catch up on Patreon questions as I'm still back in November on these things right now. We're almost there. So we're going to try to fit 6 questions into today's sort of Thursday recap episode in a bit of a rapid fire show, which should be fun. I will still give as much detail to the answers as I can, but maybe without so much rambling and sidetracking as usual. Getting started, our first Patreon question comes to us from Patreon member Lainey, who asks, quote, "Hey Jesse, I've been slowly turning more and more of my backyard garden into growing space and it's been going great so far. All of your advice on starting beds has been invaluable. Thanks. I do have a small problem that I imagine is pretty common for backyard gardens, which is sod netting, that thin plastic mesh that's common in the bottom of sod rolls. I don't have serious compaction problems, but I have been doing one-time tillage of new beds to incorporate amendments and break up the sod where it is a little more compact. I really don't want to till a bunch of tiny shreds of plastic into the soil, so I've been trying to remove the stuff by hand, but it's incredibly time consuming. It's usually under about an inch of soil, and it just pulls apart if I try to yank it out by hand. The best I've come up with is digging it out, but it's a ton of labor. Any suggestions for dealing with this stuff?" End quote. Okay, so thank you, and bummer to have to deal with the netting. So just for a little background, the reason that the netting is in some sods, at least to my understanding, there may be other reasons why somebody would put it down, but is that sod growers, which is a whole giant industry that may deserve its own segment one day, it makes it so that they can pull their sod easier and earlier by laying down the plastic netting at seeding time. Then the grass grows through the netting, and then they can more easily lift it up, roll it up, ship it, and then the landscaper, whoever, can easily just roll it back out. Bingo bango. Now, there is not likely to be a super easy to deal with this netting, except perhaps renting a sod cutter of your own. I think Home Depot maybe rents them, or asking someone with one to come and pull up the sod for you. Then you can roll it up and perhaps compost the sod down before later removing the plastic, but it's still, going to be a mess, because plastic is the worst. Anyway, I have luckily not had to deal with this myself, but that sod cutter is probably the best that I can come up with. Best of luck, and a great question. Appreciate that. Our second Patreon question comes from Patreon member Patrick Daubert, who writes, quote, "Experience or thoughts on alfalfa pellets as a fertilizer underneath mulch?" End quote. So I really have good experiences using organic alfalfa meal and pellets both. The pellets, for the uninitiated, are ground up alfalfa that is compressed into small pellets. These are typically used as feed for, say, like rabbits or livestock, but there is no reason they cannot be employed in gardening, and sometimes they are. Now, the meal is going to release its nutrients, nitrogen primarily, but also phosphorus and potassium, a little faster than the pellets because simple surface area, microbes can decompose smaller stuff faster than they can decompose, larger particles, which will help them to release the nutrients contained therein. But if you don't need the nitrogen right away and want to spread the effects out over the course of a season, like for a long season crop like tomatoes or peppers or whatever, then the pellets make all the sense in the world. Whether they need to be under the mulch, though, just depends on the mulch. In a compost mulch system, you could just sprinkle the pellets on the surface and cover the pellets up lightly with just like raking them. If it's hay or straw mulch, however, then yeah, the pellets should probably be against the soil or slightly worked into it with the mulch on top. Nothing super complex there. I like organic alfalfa as an amendment equipment, and if you have a good line on some affordable pellets, then sure, go for it. Just expect the release of the nutrients to be a little slower, which for longer season crops may be exactly what you're after. All right, we're going to take a quick break and then get 2 questions in the next segment also. BRB times 2. BRB. That may have been 3. No, I think it was 2. Today's episode is brought to you by Ohio Earth Food. So you got your soil tested or need your soil tested, it's time to contact Ohio Earth Food. Since 1972, they have been growers' trusted source for organic soil amendments to apply before you plant to prevent those deficiency symptoms that limit production. Their knowledgeable staff have all been a part of certified organic operations and can help you choose the best products for your soil and deliver or ship them right to your farm. With locations in Northwest Ohio and just north of Madison, Wisconsin, Ohio Earth Food wants to be your partner for organic inputs. Don't count on luck this year. Start your seeds in the Seed Catapult potting soil and put their Revita fertilizers in your beds, and rest assured that your plants will have all the nutrients, stimulants, and energy for whatever comes their way. Feed your soil and let your soil feed the plants. Visit them at ohioearthfood.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by High Mowing Organic Seeds. High Mowing Organic Seeds is celebrating their 30th anniversary with 48 fabulous new varieties for 2026. Highlights include downy mildew-resistant cucumbers, a poppy that looks like cotton candy, and 12 new tomato varieties. High Mowing offers more than 750 varieties of certified organic, non-GMO vegetables, flowers, herbs, and cover crops, all trialed for optimal performance in organic growing systems. High Mowing has the professional quality seeds and supportive grower reps to get you from seed to harvest. Visit highmowingseeds.com to request a catalog and use code 26NOTILL, all caps, for 10% off your order of $100 or more. That's highmowingseeds.com. All right, back to the show. If you, the listener or viewer, are enjoying this podcast, getting even a small amount of value from it, consider supporting our work. Over at patreon.com/no-till growers, I will try to get to questions from everywhere that questions come in, but I will always get to your Patreon questions. Now, today's third Patreon question comes to us from Patreon member Steel Road Farms, who writes, quote, "Afternoon, Jesse. I have an infestation of brown stink bug. It's a real pain to deal with as I am organic and have never dealt with them before. ATM, which I think means at the moment and not Atletico Madrid, they have turned at least 70% of my produce to the bin. Please help." End quote. All right, so this is not an issue I've personally had to deal with beyond just having stink bugs like hanging about, collecting in random places in the garden and house. But as a pest, not so much. However, here's what I would recommend to do. As I told Steel Road Farms at the time, because they threw in the helpful alarm bells in there, I would get a hand vacuum and vacuum them off all of the plants that you can, and then cover those plants with row cover to exclude them. For disposal, I would dump them into a bucket of soapy water. To the soapy water point, some folks will put a light above the bucket of soapy water overnight, and then the stink bugs will apparently fall into the bucket. Or you can, knock them off into the morning. That's not my favorite option, as you are liable to get other beneficials in the mix that also like light, but it could work in a pinch or in an infestation. And the soap helps to change the surface tension of the water, making it hard for them to stay afloat, in case that's not clear why the water has to be soapy. Nothing to do with the smell, though. It's, not to do with the smell. Our old friend Kaylin Clay, remember them? And or sticky traps can work as well if all else fails. I would start with trying to get the numbers in check, and then you can look into some of the organic treatments such as sulfur. And in fact, they wrote back shortly after this question and said, quote, "Thanks so much, mate. It seems to be working. I'm also spraying sulfur where I can actually see them. That also has reduced the numbers by a great deal. Thanks again," end quote. So that's good. A little success story for you. The fourth Patreon question of the day comes to us from Patreon member Myra Rosenblatt, who writes, quote, "I know you've covered this at times, but can you run through the best practices on food safety in terms of what to use to clean totes, sinks, harvest tools, etc.? I see Sanidate for sale only in large, expensive $200 containers. Is this what I need to buy? Is this used on washing produce as well? Thank you so much for your show, Myra." End quote. All right, great question here, Myra. So Sanidate is a general use chlorine alternative made from peroxyacetic acid and hydrogen peroxide. It is considered relatively benign in comparison to bleach, and Sanidate is improved for use on organic farms, which is also OMRI listed. Now, in large part, it's used to sanitize tabletops, bins, knives, etc. after harvesting and packing. It is also sometimes added to the wash water in very low concentrations just to sanitize that as well. However, this is generally only if the water source you are using is from, say, a well or a tank where, that element is a little bit compromised. If the water is coming directly from the county, it's already pretty sanitary when it gets to you, but food safety is always paramount. So if you feel like your water or the delivery system of that water is at all imperfect in terms of food safety and contamination, then adding the recommended amount of Sanidate to the wash water isn't a bad idea. You don't want to make anyone sick, and at a certain scale, the FSMA, Food Safety Modernization Act, may require you to use some sanitation like that in your wash water. Now, there is not much you can do about the price. It's just kind of expensive, but it will also last you a very long time, or you can maybe go in on a bottle with a friend. Right now, Johnny's has a 2.5 gallon jug of the 5.0 for $125. The recommendation for wash water is something like 0.4 teaspoons per gallon. So that little jug covers about 4,800 gallons of wash water, or like 2 cents per gallon, something like that. So anyway, I hope that's helpful, and I do appreciate that you're thinking about these things. Food safety, again, paramount. Otherwise, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, should someone change their bed size to fit old equipment, plus a nitrogen issue? Be right back, and then back again. Today's episode is brought to you by Johnny's Selected Seeds. Johnny's Selected Seeds is a proud supporter of Growers Daily. At Johnny's, they do more than sell seeds. They grow them. They trial them to see how they perform on Johnny's research farm in Maine and across the U.S. and Canada. Only the best varieties are added to their catalog and website. When you need proven varieties you can count on and detailed guidance from seedling to harvest, consider Johnny's your trusted growing partner. JohnnySeeds.com. That's JohnnySeeds.com. All right, back to the show. Okay, so on our rapid fire day, we've got a couple more questions to knock out. Patreon member Flexion writes, quote, I have a conundrum. I am starting a no-till market garden entirely from scratch on 1/4 acre of land that used to be forest/pasture. I am just starting to plan my beds and start soil prep. Today, I found out that my family's small tractor only has 23 inches of space between the wheels. I wanted to do 48-inch wide beds per your suggestion, or at least 30 inches. Do I change my bed/path width size based on this, or stick with my original plan and consider purchasing other equipment like a walk-behind tractor, end quote. I love this. This is an interesting question. So technically, you can grow on 20-inch beds if you want to. Nothing against that. It'll be more like row cropping, but if you're planning to manage everything with a tractor, then that's fine. It just requires, more space overall. Like you're going to need a bigger space to fit the same amount of food. The first question I would have, though, is what do you want to use the tractor for? Is it managing the pathways? Are you going to be prepping bed tops with it? If so, what implements do you have or have access to for that? Also, what kind of room are you working with? Like a tractor needs some turnaround space at the end of the beds. That is one thing that, and is nice about the walk-behind tractor, for instance, is that you only need a few feet at the end of each bed, as opposed to, say, like 20 or more for a tractor, which needs a lot of space to loop around. Also, it may be possible, depending on the tractor, to get spacers for the wheels to expand the width a little bit. That would be cheaper, perhaps, than a new walk-behind tractor, for sure. Some tractors, including walk-behinds, have wheels that can simply be flipped over to add width between them, like just the way that they're set up. You can turn them around, and then you get a little bit more width underneath. My take is to explore all the options with the tractor that you own first, and then if you feel it's going to be expensive anyway, getting all the implements that you want for it, or if you feel like it's going to limit what you can do based on the amount of room it requires, you could look at a walk-behind instead, or something smaller, or even just use a tilter, depending on the quality of your soil. To clarify as well, I don't recommend any bed width necessarily. With farming, it's all about context. Wider beds make sense for me in my context, but maybe if I owned a tractor already and had the space, I would work with what I've got. I bet some tractor heads will have some good thoughts on this as well in the comments. Good stuff. Now, our last question in this rapid fire session is another one from Patreon member Steel Road Farms, who writes, quote, just wanted to firstly thank you for your inspiration and knowledge you continue to share. I have a question regarding nitrogen in my soil. I'm from Western Australia in a hot, temperate climate. I'm in my first year of growing and at this stage approximately have 1/4 of an acre in production. The area used for gardening was previously used for cropping things such as hay for feed for the sheep. I'm now a no-till grower. Everything I do is broadforked and we compost mulch. I also fertigate once or twice a fortnight using a seaweed and liquid compost mixture with some molasses, and everything is growing growing very well, except for when it comes to fruit production. I'm getting very small fruits, such as corn, watermelons. A fellow grower has informed me that I'm probably low in nitrogen. I'm thinking that he may be wrong, and I'm lacking potash. What are your thoughts on this, Jesse? Thanks again, and thumbs up from Australia, end quote. All right, thank you, and good questions here. So seaweed extract is somewhere around 241 or a 322 NPK, depending on the product, which really should take care of both the nitrogen and the potassium issue. With the compost, you've got the phosphorus covered as well. So let's just step back for a second. Small fruit can be indicative of a few other things that aren't necessarily nutrition. Sometimes excessive nitrogen can cause small fruits as well. Giant, healthy looking plants with small fruits is a good way to identify that issue. And with the compost, that could be what you're running into. And in conjunction with the compost and the seaweed, that could be what you're running into. Another one is just moisture. Is that field being adequately watered? Poor pollination can sometimes cause small fruits in cucurbits and isn't easily solved in the moment, but could simply be a lack of flowers around the farm and their pollinators. If plants are spaced too tightly, that can cause issues with small fruits as well. If plants have too much weed competition, same thing. Compaction as well. Is the soil beneath that compost mulch really hard? That may be making a difference in the fruit quality. I'm going to guess it's not a lack of nitrogen or potash present in the soil, though the only way to confirm that is with a soil test or sap analysis. Maybe think on those other possibilities first and then explore nutrient management, because oftentimes the issues are simpler than it may seem. More physical, like water or compaction, than chemical. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. All of it, all those questions, that was fun. Growers, feel free to put your 2 cents in the comments as well, as you always do, and always do a great job of, and we will talk a little bit about it tomorrow. Otherwise, I think this Thursday is finished. Don't forget, No-Till Growers is now a nonprofit 501c3, so donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated. Please make sure to like and subscribe and or follow wherever you're getting this podcast. That's an easy way to help us out as well. Enormous thank you to all of our show sponsors, and if you'd ever like to sponsor the show, you can reach out to Farmer Michelle at no-tillgrowers.com. Huge shouts to Willie Breeding for the theme music, Mike Hilbert for the production help and editing, and also my wife Hannah for absolutely everything in the world. Also, shouts to Epidemic Sound for the background music that you can hear. Pick up a hat or a copy of my book, The Living Soil Handbook, at no-tillgrowers.com to support our work. Big thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/no-tillgrowers, where at a certain level, or if you just bump up from one level to another, or you sign up in the month of January, janvier, you get a shout out on the show. So big shout outs today too. It's a little bit of a mystery. We'll get there. Adam Stickler, Rebecca Sullivan, and Thomas. Shouts to all of you. Double shouts to Thomas for being a bump up. So you will remember that this week's story is a farm high school story, a school based on a farm, but is also, with the hopes of creating farmers. And our hero, Max, has just learned in his history class about the history of the Great Farm Collapse, as they call it, where farmers were no longer on the land as much. They were aging out, and then they were getting replaced by equipment and all this stuff. And at the same time, or shortly thereafter, all that equipment that was servicing the fields and the farms got a blight. And so all of it became useless. So generations had passed without the knowledge being passed down with how to work the land without this sort of technology. And the reality was people were finding workarounds for machinery, but without equipment to build equipment, even hard plastic tools were out of the picture, at least for the moment. So it was all about, hand tools and ingenuity in order to grow food now. It was all about relying on very ancient techniques, fire, tools made from bone. And so Max was not just learning everything about the world and biology, but was learning the old ways of growing food. The days are long, but the school represents at least a semblance of stability. It's school all day long, then work in the fields until dark, then repeat the next day. Max's favorite part, though, Sophia. And that is for tomorrow on The Potluck. It'll make sense tomorrow. Maybe, hopefully. Anyway, thanks for watching and or listening. We'll find out tomorrow. Bye.